Hi, kiddos. When we left off, Miss Blake was barking orders about being back to the school at 1 o'clock sharp Saturday for their trip to the middle of nowhere. Chapter 7. It rained all week. I thought our overnight might be canceled, but on Friday, my parents got the call saying it was still on. They drove me to the parking lot where all the kids were waiting on the bus. Can I come on the bus to take a few pictures? My mom asked. No parents allowed, Miss Blake barked. Say goodbye. My mom said goodbye, and I climbed on the bus. I sat next to Ryan. We had already decided that we were going to share a tent together. Miss Blake stood up in the front of the bus as we pulled out of the parking lot. This is going to be fun, she barked. Anybody who doesn't have fun is going to be punished. We drove 1,100,000 miles to some forest. Finally, the bus pulled off to the side of the road and we got out. There was a sign that warned of forest fires, poison ivy, flash floods, dehydration, and other scary stuff that can happen to you in the wilderness. Are we going to go spelunking? Asked Alexia. No, we hike, barked Miss Blake as she grabbed a big backpack and a pair of binoculars. I love hiking in nature, said Andrea. Ugh, hiking and nature are so boring. Keep an eye out for bears and other wild animals, said Miss Blake. I'm scared, said Emily. It would have been cool to see a bear or some other wild animal, but there weren't any animals. There were just lots of trees and rocks and birds. So Miss Blake talked about every tree, rock, and bird along the way. What a snooze fest. Look, shouted Miss Blake, peering through her binoculars. A red-billed nuthatch. A bird is a bird if you ask me. You've seen one bird, you've seen them all. I hope we see a snake, said Michael. Snakes are cool. What would you do if you saw a snake? Ryan asked. I'd punch it in the face, I said. After 5 minutes of hiking, I was bored. Nature is way overrated. We were in the middle of nowhere. It would be cool if there was a town called Nowhere. Then you could go to the middle of it. Nobody ever goes to the edge of nowhere. This looks like the place where we started, said Neil. That's because we hiked a big loop, said Miss Blake. What? So we walked 1,100,000 miles in a circle? What was the point of that? If you're going to hike, you should hike someplace different. This looks like a good spot to set up camp, said Miss Blake. Let's pitch our tents. Why would you want to throw a tent? That made no sense at all. Where do you think Miss Blake got all these tents? Ryan asked. From Rent a Tent, I told him. You can rent anything. Ryan and I pulled out our tent together while Miss Blake tied a string across 2 long sticks and stuck the sticks into the ground. Then she told us to gather up some wood. Are we going to build a fire? Asked Andrea. No, we're going to build 2 fires, said Miss Blake. She tied another string across 2 sticks and stuck them in the dirt next to the first ones. One's for the boys and one's for the girls. Who can tell me what you need to start a fire? Lighter fluid, I shouted. No, said Miss Blake. Lighter fluid is for wimps. Fuel, air, and heat, said Andrea, who remembers everything she ever heard, saw, or read. That's right, said Miss Blake. You have air all around you, of course. I'll give the boys' team and the girls' team 3 napkins. That's your fuel. You get 1 match to provide heat. Each team will build their fire under a rope. The first team to break their rope with the flame is the winner. Yes! Boys against girls. Beating Andrea would be fun. I know how to build a fire, Andrea told Emily and Alexia. We should carefully make a frame out of sticks and then light the napkins at the bottom. They're wasting their time, I whispered to the guys. Just light the napkins and start piling sticks on top. Our fire will burn faster and will beat the girls. Ryan lit the match. Michael held the napkins on the ground. Neil and I put thin sticks on top of the napkins. They started to catch fire. Burn, 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 we chanted as we piled more sticks on top. Our fire was getting bigger. The girls finally finished building their dumb stack of sticks and lit it. The flames shot up so it was almost as high as ours. Our fire got higher, and so did the girls' fire. In a few minutes, the flames were almost to the top of the 2 ropes. You couldn't tell which rope was going to break first. You should have been there. There was electricity in the air. Well, not exactly. If there was electricity in the air, we would have been electrocuted, but we were on the edge of our seats. Well, not really. There were no seats in the forest. But it was exciting. Both flames were licking the ropes. Burn, 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 everybody chanted. Smoke was coming off the ropes. Both of the ropes were burning. Burn, burn, burn. And then the girl's rope broke. No! A second later, our rope broke. Yay! Shouted all the girls. Boo! Shouted all the boys. Ooh, that's not what AJ was hoping for. Chapter 8 is called The Universe is Boring. I had to admit the girls won the campfire contest fair and square. When both fires died down a little, Miss Blake got hot dogs from her backpack and we cooked them. Yum! Then she got a bag of marshmallows for us to toast. Double yum! I ate so many marshmallows, I thought I was gonna throw up. It was the greatest night of my life. It was getting dark out. Miss Blake said she was going to rest in her tent, but we could spread our sleeping bags on the ground and talk for a while. We were all lying on our backs looking up at the sky. It was filled with stars, and it was weirdly quiet. There were no cars, no TVs, no noise. Isn't this peaceful? Asked Emily. Yeah, everybody replied. What do you see when you look up at the stars? Asked Andrea. I see stars, said Ryan. Maybe we'll see a shooting star, said Michael. Just think, said Andrea. Those stars are billions of miles away. If the sun exploded, we wouldn't know it for 8 minutes. That's how long it would take for the light to reach our eyes. I'm scared, said Emily. Emily's always scared. The universe is so big, said Alexia. Where do you think it ends? Asked Neil. Nobody knows, said Ryan. Maybe it never ends, said Michael. It can't go on whatever, said Andrea. It's got to end somewhere. What a snooze fest. All this talk about the universe was boring. Hey, let's tell ghost stories, I suggested. Ghost stories are cool, way cooler than talking about the universe. I'm scared, said Emily. Don't be scared, said Andrea. Ghost stories are just stories. They're not real. I'll start, I said, sitting up so everybody could see me. I picked up my flashlight and I held it under my chin, pointing up at my face. Anytime you hold a flashlight under your chin in the dark, it looks like you're crazy. That's the first rule of being a kid. Okay, I said, here's the story. There was this boy. Yeah? Everybody said? And he was out in the woods on an overnight, I said. Like us. Yeah? And it was pitch dark, just like now. Yeah? What happened next? Asked Andrea. A ghost came along and kidnapped him, I said. The end. That's your story? Asked Andrea. It's a short story, I said. I cut out all the boring parts. Dude, that ghost story was lame, said Michael. I said that if nobody liked my ghost story, they could tell a ghost story of their own, and somebody would have. But that's when the weirdest thing in the history of the world happened. There was a noise behind us. We turned around. It was a bear. I thought there was more to that chapter, but there's not. Chapter 9 is called Bear Attack. Good thing Miss Blake told them the story about how she was once attacked by a bear. The gang's gonna know what to do.